Yup. If one more label try to stop me, it's gonna be some dreadhead niggas in your lobby. You don't want no problem with me.
Hello, good morning. Y'all, oh, come on, y'all. Everyone is acting a little bit buttoned up. How are we doing? Hello? Hi? Hi, how are we? Hi, get some energy with me. Let's see. God, there we go. Good morning, y'all. You're like, okay, I have not had enough coffee for this. I get it. Don't worry. The coffee is not going to stop at all at any point in time today. If you feel like we don't have enough coffee, come find me. Okay? I will be that person for you. I believe in caffeine. If I could IV drip connect right now, I would literally be up here with an IV drip of coffee, okay? My name is Jess. I go by she, her, they, them pronouns, y'all. I'm here as the elder millennial, geriatric millennial, yelder, youth elder, whatever you want to call the old person in the room to be helpful. So if you need something logistically, if you need some type of support, find me, let me know. And we will make sure that you have what you need to be able to show up, to be able to be your full self. Also, just a couple of logistical flags. We're in this entire space. So if you need to go inside, you want to be outside, whatever feels good for you, you should do what feels good in this space for you. Bathrooms, use whatever bathroom you want. It doesn't matter what it says. All this is social construct. Gender is a social construct. You know what else is? Time. So I know some people are like, we're running late. What is time? Okay, so we're gonna ebb and flow based on the energy. So if you're focused on the agenda and you're focused on timing, you're focused on the wrong thing. So focus on the people around you, okay? Last, also, code of conduct, right? So we're gonna make sure that folks have signed the code of conduct. Most people have. If you haven't, make sure you check in with a staff person so you can. Make sure you sign the code of conduct, but also, y'all, this is basic stuff. We need to treat each other the way that the systems don't treat us. Okay, we need to actually act against the ways that we've learned. We need to be good human beings to each other, treat people well, be kind, be nice, be gracious, give people what you want to receive instead of waiting for them to give it to you and then giving it back, right? Crazy concepts. Hopefully these are not crazy concepts, but the idea of rebuilding a world means we have to unbuild and deconstruct often the things that we're dealing with right now. And we're honestly just gonna get straight into program because as the elder, I don't need to take up any more of time from you all. But again, if you need something, want something, need help in some way, please find someone who's a staff member that has a staff badge. If you're unsure, then we see her in the back who's waving as a version of our staff. We see Faith on the other side waving, Quasi in the back. Staff is here to help. And if you're unsure, still ask someone for help because hopefully other people are just good humans in this space and will be helpful, okay? Bathrooms upstairs, bathrooms downstairs. Again, we have the full space. We have Wi-Fi if you need it. There's also other drinks. Diet Cokes for my people that are like, Jessica, I don't want coffee, I need a Diet Coke, fine. Or if you want to pretend you're not drinking caffeine and have a tea, sure, have a tea, okay? But we're gonna go ahead and get started now and get straight into this now. I'm gonna introduce first our faithful leader. And also, let's be clear, I just want people, can we just take a second to just clap it up for yourselves, but also for the staff and everybody here? Like, this takes actual energy. There are people here who have not slept at all, and I mean that down to the people who are in this building, who run this building. People haven't slept. They have taken time off. People have driven all night to be here. Some of those folks are even in these seats right now. This takes work, but people do it as a labor of love because that's why we're here, right? We're not here because our heads tell us what the policies are. We're here because we have something at stake and because we care and we really want to believe that this vision of tomorrow is possible, and that's why we're here, right? And so just move from a place of love. And one of the people, honestly, who loves this the most, who, I don't know if he slept at all in the past week, but is here to welcome you all into how we build this and move this into not just voters of tomorrow, but again, the vision for tomorrow, is our fearless leader, Santiago.
The ref got tricked, the wrong ones think they're right. You were outnumbered this time.
Hello! Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I am Santiago Mayer. I am the Executive Director and Founder at Voters of Tomorrow. I want to welcome everyone officially to the 4th Annual Voters of Tomorrow Summit. You know, I started Voters of Tomorrow in 2019 when I was just 17 years old. I was a Mexican immigrant. I had just moved to the US, and I was appalled by the rhetoric that I was seeing Donald Trump spew towards my community. And I knew that we could and we had to do better. I also knew that young people like me cared deeply and were ready to play a big, big role in shaping the future, if only we had the investment and the outreach that we needed to actually mobilize our generation. With the help of so many incredible young organizers, activists, students, many of whom are in this room right now, we have built Voters of Tomorrow into what it is today. We have been able to really start a generational movement that's going to change this country. So I wish I could say we have made more progress, but Donald Trump has only rammed his xenophobic rhetoric, and he seems more committed than ever to tearing families apart and using ICE as a weapon to silence political opposition and target anyone who looks or sounds a certain way. I hope that what you are seeing scares you. It should. What has been happening in Los Angeles, in Texas, everywhere, it scares me every single day, but we cannot look away. All of this means that as an immigrant, as a young person, I am more committed than ever to kicking Donald Trump out of the White House in 2028 and taking back the House in 2026. And all of that starts with young people. Voters of Tomorrow has already announced a $3 million investment into youth organizing in 18 congressional districts across the country. We hope that, let's clap for the organizers. I hope that all of you will continue to join our efforts to stop Donald Trump's agenda of hate. I hope that those of you who are not already part of a Voters of Tomorrow chapter will join one. Consider running for office. Consider kicking fascist ass in your communities, because we need the leaders in this room. The time for change is right now, and we cannot wait. So I hope that you all are as excited as I am for the incredible lineup of speakers that we have today, from leaders that I admire, like Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, and a message from former Vice President Kamala Harris, to friends like Haley Lickstein and Aaron Parnas, who will also be joining us. Our speakers come from different backgrounds, different ages, and even different ideologies. But we are all committed to finding an understanding of the moment that we face. We are doing absolutely everything that we can to reject Donald Trump's attacks on young people, on our planet, on our loved ones, on our basic human rights, and fight back with everything that we have got. That's why this year our team is Fight for a Future. Luckily, we are all in the fight together. So I hope you will also take time to get to know each other, to leave here with a broader community than you came in with. And of course, I want to thank all of you for being here, and I want to thank our incredible long list of sponsors who are making this event possible. The American Federation of Teachers has supported us from the very first summit, and they are here again. We have the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Grassroots Democrats HQ, Movement Voter Project, Flight Desk, Climate Power, Grassroots Analytics, Students Demand Action, Blue Future, Men for Choice, Leaders We Deserve, Feel Good Action, I did say it was a long list. Feel Good Action, Civitech, Courier, and Citizens United, Impactive Action Network, Empower Project, Social Current, Third Way, Path to Progress, Reproductive Freedom for All, The Next 50, American Accountability Network, and Way to Win. All of them are incredible partners in the fight, and we are so grateful to have you all with us. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to find hope instead of being depressed, as I think a lot of us have been. And with that, let's do another summit. Thanks, everyone.
Hot mic. Okay. You just want to go straight up, or you want me to go? No, it's the panel. Okay, straight into content, y'all. So let's get straight into a panel right now, because you don't want to hear another one person speak, right? So, can I get my panelists for the first panel up on stage right now? Come on, y'all, let's give some love to the panelists. As they come up right now. Got Eve is gonna moderate for us. Okay. 1, 2, 3, everyone. Good.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Good? Okay. Great. Thank you for the energy. My name is Justin Kelly. I'm going to be moderating this panel today. I'm the organizing director with the Grassroots Democrats HQ. I'm from Los Angeles. I go to the University of Southern California. And I would love to pass it to all of our panelists today, some of the wonderful activists across the country that will be speaking to you today with their expertise. So I will let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi guys, good morning. My name is Elsa. I'm the program director at Black Girl Environmentalist. We are a national nonprofit focusing on the pathway and retention issues that impact Black girls, women, and gender-expansive folk within the climate sector. Our demographic has some of the lowest retention rates, despite our communities being disproportionately impacted by climate change. So what we do is we resource young people through internships, mentorship, resources, skill building, and connections. And we do that across the country through different programs, summits, and chapter cities. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys because our organization is exclusively run by Gen Z, founded by Gen Z, and for young people.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valencia Green. I go to Jackson State University, born and raised in Washington, D.C. I'm the chapter president of Student Demand Action at Jackson State University, an organization to prevent gun violence in Mississippi, which is the South. Our organization is led by the youth. It is for the youth, so we're actively leading onto common sense gun laws in order to make sure that we are safe and we're continuing to be safe.
Hi all, my name is Eve Levinson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the board chair of Voters at Tomorrow. I've done a lot of work in the youth space, both on issue advocacy and electoral work. Last cycle, I worked as the National Youth Engagement Director for the Biden and then Harris campaign. But on today's panel about issues, I'm going to try to be focusing on the importance of reproductive rights and justice, which I was a key focal point of one of the issues that we mobilized young people with in the campaign last cycle, and I also did quite a bit of work around it in coalition work immediately after the fall of Roe.
Amazing. Well, thank you all. So kind of going off of what Eve just said, the first question I want to ask all of you is, you know, there's a lot of issues right now on young people's minds, but I'm curious to know, in the communities that you all work in, what issues do you feel like are at the top of minds of young people, and why do you think those issues are at the top of their minds?
I can kick it off. I think this question is really interesting, looking into the audience. I see a lot of young people, and I'm presuming you guys care about a multitude of issues, anything from gun violence to healthcare, reproductive justice, to education, to climate crisis, to criminal justice reform. And what I think is amazing and sucks at the same time is that all of these issues are intertwined into one fight. And so the person next to you, if you look at them, they might work in a completely different issue sector, but their issue is intertwined with your fight. And so I work on climate change, and so when you think about climate change, not everyone, but a lot of people have a very stereotypical view of what is the environment. It's the outdoors, it's green, it's nature, but the environment is any space that we encompass. It's like, how many fast food spots versus how many grocery stores are in your neighborhood? How many middle schools versus after school programs versus juvenile detention centers exist? How much access to clean water and the outdoors do you have? How many parks are there? And so when we work on climate, we really broaden our definition of environment to really encompass all of our spaces. That's where we go to school, where we eat, where we worship, etc. And that really intertwines with criminal justice reform, food justice, reproductive rights. All of it is really layered. And so I think young people, I don't think we have the luxury of just caring about one issue because they're all so close to each other in nature. And so even though my work is exclusively climate, by nature it's inherently holistic of everything. And so I think young people, there is no one specific issue that we care about. And so I will leave it at that because that will lead us into so many other things.
That was amazing. I don't know how to respond back. I would say for us, gun violence is a serious issue in our economy, and it doesn't get any more serious than that. I feel like us as Gen Z, we are so persistent and we fight so hard, but I feel like we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to be so hungry for change over something that we didn't cause. We go through a lot, and I feel like with me even growing in DC, you get to see how gun violence is affected within your everyday lives and how we need in order to protect ourselves, but not only protect ourselves, but protect our families. So that's a main issue because it's a domino effect that we go through every single day.
Definitely. So I would say firstly, I really want to underscore the point about these issues being interconnected. And I think that especially among young people, like those of you that are here today that are so engaged and involved, I think we really see those connections and we understand that deeply. I think also though, right, just to take a little bit more of like a data perspective, when we look at this last election cycle, what we saw is that kind of for the first time since our generation has been able to vote, that the top issue was the cost of living and the economy, whereas historically we've seen that it was more so those social issues. And I think that that's important for a few reasons. One, because the cost of living and economic issues are not separate from other issues, right? Economic justice is reproductive justice, it is climate justice, and we know that these things intersect, but we also know that young people, just like all people, are struggling with the cost of living, are thinking about how are they going to be able to afford whether that's their next meal, whether it's thinking about how home ownership is further out of reach for Gen Z and Gen Alpha and younger millennials. But I do think that really the key part there is that that doesn't mean that they're not connected, and I will just encourage everybody here, right? I'm sure each of you came here today, you have an issue that you care about that you maybe work on, right? And the people around you are working on other issues, and so I'd encourage you all to think about how can you make those connections and what can you do and commit to do to be able to be supporting each other's work when you leave here today.
Thank you all for that. And kind of going off of that, I think the next question I wanted to ask you all is, you know, when we figure out what these issues are that are important to young people, what are some ways you think that traditional organizations can do a better job at amplifying young voices and actually empowering and resourcing young people to be able to get involved in this work and get engaged in this work and put the issues of young people at the forefront?
So I work in climate justice work, and a lot of our work is green job force development. Right now we're in 2025, and obviously we know we're on the brink of climate catastrophe, but there's so many opportunities that arise out of that, right? There are tens of millions of jobs that have not been created that utilize green skills that can propel an entire generation and economy of successful young people who care about advocacy work. And so what is really unfortunate in the midst of that is as these green skills become more in demand, Gen Z is kind of being left behind in those job opportunities. And so there's a really large market that our generation can fill, but there's two problems. One, we're not being skilled, we're not being resourced, we're not being taught how to do these jobs, we're not being given the opportunities to pursue these jobs. And two, there's an aging workforce that refuses to leave their workforce, meaning our generation is not able to step up into leadership positions, and so it's just causing a backlog of talent and people who are really passionate about issues and have brand new ideas. And so there are several things that organizations can do. At my organization, we've created the first ever Gen Z internship pipeline program where we take about 15 girls from across the country and we place them at internship sites with a living hourly wage, a scholarship, a stipend, an on-site mentor, a round-the-year mentor, and then we also do weekly professional development. And so for us, it's really important to support and empower youth by giving them tangible resources that they can pinpoint to and say, hey, this helped me along my career trajectory. This helped me get into rooms I otherwise would not get into. This led me to be a leader in my field that I care about because someone else was willing to foot the bill and put their resources where their mouth was. And so traditional organizations that want to capitalize off of the energy of youth, because all of you guys in here have energy, right? you care about something, right? There are organizations that want to capitalize off of that energy, and that's fine. That's just how things go. But in order for them to utilize and to collaborate with us, it has to be a very meaningful exchange. So that means you get compensated fairly. It means they're investing in your development, in your education, and your growth. They're making sure the environments that you occupy are safe and are healthy and are worthwhile. And so there's so many things traditional organizations can do to mobilize young people, but the most important thing is making space for us by funding us, by supporting our agency, and by eventually leaving space for us to take up leadership opportunities. And so we're not continuously reinventing the wheel or just keeping Gen Z in a stagnant hold of Gen Z is going to come save us. How can Gen Z save us if we're not making space for Gen Z?
To piggyback off of Eliza, I feel like Gen Z has been asking for so long to have a seat at the table in order to hear what they're choosing when it comes to our lives and how we are going to move forward with our lives. But I feel like we're past that point of asking. I feel like we're at a point where it's like, your way's not working, so now we have to take the wheel in order to drive. We have to be able to make sure that we're doing everything that we want to do and we're fighting for everything that we want to fight, while not telling someone, by actually doing the actions, by allowing someone else to take the back seat and you sitting in the front wheel and you're saying, okay, well, this is how we're going to move forward. This is the strategize. And I feel like with every Time for Gun Safety, they give you the training and the opportunity in order to do that. You have national training summits. You have summits like these where a bunch of youth people come around from all over the globe and talk about every gun safety issue that they have and laws that they want to change in their state, in their communities. So just being able to know that we're not only just telling you the problems, but we're also giving you solutions to the problems. So allow us to be able to solve the problem, because obviously the other way that we're patiently waiting for other people to solve it, and we have multiple solutions, but no one's being able to allow us to sit at those tables or take that wheel in order to be the solution.
Yeah, I think there are really three main things that more sort of like institutional adult-led organizations can do, and I think it's provide training, empowerment, and support, which may come in the form of financial support. It's important that there are opportunities for folks to be able to learn and sort of take the passion and understand, great, how do I harness this? What does it mean to operate in this specific space? Maybe it's a lobbying training, maybe it's a fundraising training. I think the empowerment, right, is a lot of what our other panelists were speaking to about what does it mean to look at a young person as maybe more than an intern, or what does it mean to look at your interns as providing a valuable insight that might actually have the opportunity to inform the strategic direction there. And I would also say on the other hand that I think a really key part of when we're talking about how can organizations be better incorporating and uplifting young people is, what does it mean to have that sort of meaningful, effective, intergenerational relationship, right? And it's a two-way street, and I think that's really important for us as young people to remember. And what I have found as the most valuable relationships there that I have had, whether it was a reporting relationship, a mentor relationship, a colleague relationship, is going into it and understanding that there's a mutual respect and there's something that can be learned both ways, right? There's something that's really unique and powerful about, as a young person, the experience that you have, the insights that you have, your ability to connect with your peers. And there's also a value in being able to learn from those who have done before. And when you can enter into that sort of intergenerational relationship with that mutual respect, I think that what can come out of it is truly beautiful.
Amazing. And I guess going off of that, how can we take the education and training pieces that we're focusing on right now, and as we get closer to, the next year and a half of an election year, turn that anger, that frustration about the issues into sustained organizing and getting people into, engaged into electoral action? How can, this group of folks here get involved into sustained action? What strategies, I guess, is what I'm getting at. What strategies in your communities have you found the most effective in turning young people from just caring about the issues to actually getting involved and acting in their communities?
Okay. I would say consistency is key. So we would need to, well, I would say for me, being in Mississippi, going out where young people are, getting them to register to vote. Everything is a domino effect. Everything that we are fighting for, everything that affects us in life, starts with who we vote for and getting to the polls. So being able to connect with your fellow colleagues and connect with other young people and letting them basically explaining how big and how important it is to vote and how much effect it does have on our lives, and just having different motives and different strategies. I think we were talking back there about Mississippi. I know Mississippi goes, and if you're outside of a bar or something, the Mississippi votes will be outside and they're getting you registered to vote. So being able to have different strategies, having different ways in order to connect with our community, I do believe that voter registration drives and call banks and voting summits, those definitely do help, but we're growing and we have to grow with our change as well. And we have to realize what is really going to get the attention, but not even just the attention, what is going to actually grasp their understanding and their comprehension of what we need and who we need in office in order to make sure that what we want and what we're saying that we need is going to be put into action.
I'll go next. I have a question before I answer your question. How many of you guys are in college? Everyone? You guys live in dorms? Do you know the people on your floor, like their names? The person that lives next to you? Okay, I'm just checking. So I say that there's a point to that. I say that because I've been a youth organizer for about 8 years now, starting off in gun violence, moving into women's rights, and now climate change, because I think it really just encompasses everything I care about. And the one thing that I've held close to my heart is the importance of community. And so all of us, we care about different issues, right? But at the core of the issues that we're fighting for should be the love of our community and our neighbor. And so for me personally, a strategy that has been important and a guiding light is knowing who do I live with. Like, if I go home and I say I care about this community and I want this community to have clean access to clean water and food and to be safe from gun violence, I want to know my neighbors so I know who it is I'm advocating for. And that doesn't have to be your dorm. It could be like where you go to gym, to work out. You want to know the people around you. Where do you go to church? Do you know the people around you? Do you know what's weighing on their heart? Do you know what issues are close to them? We can't have an electorate that's active if we don't know each other and what's important to each other. And so we have hubs across the country. We have 15 chapters and we have thousands of members. And what's interesting is that a lot of people don't like to fund people work like this, organizing, getting to know people. Like a happy hour might seem just like a happy hour on paper, but it's so much more than that. You're bringing people together, you're building connections, you're sharing ideas, and you're establishing trust. I trust that we have a mutual shared vision for this country, for each other. And so I trust you to work on my behalf, and I will work on your behalf. And that begins by knowing your neighbor and having a strong sense of community. I think Gen Z, we are a little bit not alienated, but we're not as connected as we can be. We're on our phones. It's great. It's a cool resource, but Snapchatting or texting someone isn't the same as saying, hey, my name is Elsa, I'd like to get to know you. You don't have to be besties, but if we care about the issues we say we care about, you need to know your neighbor, and you have to approach the work that you're doing as people first work and not policy first work.
So I will answer this question, but Justin, you should also answer it. So I'm giving you that heads up that you should answer it afterwards because you do electoral work. But I think really the biggest thing here, and this is a lot of what I've worked on in my organizing and career, is how do you make that connection between the issue somebody is passionate about and why that means they should vote, and then in some instances, why that means they should vote for or against somebody in specific. And I think it's really about drawing that clear connection. So examples of this and what we did a lot last year on the campaign trail, right, was talking about what were the specific benefits that happened that the Biden administration passed that would then be taken away. I referenced a lot specifically because I had done a lot of advocacy around it, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which was the first piece of gun violence prevention legislation to pass nationally pretty much in our lifetimes, right? And talking about why that was so historic, what that would mean. I think a lot of times, one of the struggles that we face as organizers and volunteers doing that is that people might not yet be feeling the impact of that policy, right? Which then makes our job a little bit harder to be able to explain this great piece of legislation passed. We need to then be able to it will have this impact, but you don't necessarily have it yet, right? And so I think that's where the power of people's personal story comes in really well. You all have a reason why you do what you do, why you vote because of that. And so figuring that out and talking about it, right? So whether that is gun violence, whether it is reproductive justice, whether it is climate change, really figuring that out and being able to distill down when you're talking to somebody else and making that connection of what is that issue, what will a vote do, and helping to paint not just the negative image of what would happen to the people we don't want to get elected happen, but also what is that positive image? What is that world that we're working towards?
Yeah, honestly, just like what Eve said, I think the biggest thing is personal story, like she said, sharing your own personal story for why you got involved, but also centering it around whoever you're talking to. So if you're talking to a friend, if you're talking to a family member, asking them what issues matter to them, because when you make it about them and they feel heard and they feel seen, you can cater that conversation to them and connect it to whatever candidate it is you may be speaking about or whatever your cause is. When you can connect them personally to that, they're gonna feel like you actually care about them and you're actually trying to help address the issues that they care about rather than you're just trying to check off a box and get them to vote. So I think highlighting that personal story piece for you and the voter or your friend or whoever it may be is really important. All right, and then before we wrap up, final thing I just want to ask is, what do you guys want to see, what do you hope everybody here, in one sentence, what you hope everybody here takes away from this conversation over the next year?
I would say keep fighting. There's always someone listening. We're going to be able to take the reins on the horse or take the wheel on the car. Just make sure that you keep fighting and never give up, no matter what outcome you get.
Your connections and your personal story can make that difference.
Nothing is new under the sun. We've survived worse. We'll do it again. We'll build together.
Can we have a round of applause for our amazing panelists? Thank you all. And thank you all for being here. You guys are all amazing.
Woo! Let's clap it up again. Appreciate y'all. Okay. So I feel like this is kind of almost like Kismet energy right now, because I feel like I'm gonna about to introduce one of those most amazing speakers. I feel like I should also say my forever speaker, someone that I'm from California. Anybody else from California in the house? Come on now, y'all. I'm from California. Also, I was born on January 11th, and this is someone who represents the 11th district of California. Arguably, I won't say, there's no best district, but if there had to compete, it might be the best. But also in this moment, where so many people are shrinking back in fear, there are people who are stepping up. And there are people who are consistently saying they're with us and have always been with us. And she's one of those people. And so for me, it is a particular honor to even just have a moment to step on the stage before her, because she's been that person that I will follow down the dark and crazy path, because she has always steered us correct. And she's always had our backs, and she's always been our champion. And so, really, she needs no introduction also. But we're going to start the music, and I'm going to let the fearless, my forever speaker, Nancy Pelosi, join us on stage here.
It's a beautiful day to live getaway. It's a beautiful day. Touch me.
It's so invigorating to be in the presence of the future. Thank you all for making the trek and making the decision to make your mark on the future and to make the difference. Santiago, I have been a fan of for a long time. Well, he's that young, can't be that long, but since he has been engaged in the public arena, I've worked with Mariana before. Jessica's kind remarks mean so much to me. And Eve, you don't know this, but Eve's mom is one of the great organizers in California. She works with my daughter Christine, who's here, and they have, in the past little while, to fight the big bad bill that is not anything close to beautiful, they made 300,000 calls into Republican districts from those districts to those members. Just as a point of my always saying, we can only do so much internally in terms of maneuvering. The outside mobilization makes all the difference. So thank all of you for being part of one aspect or another of making change for the future. So where we are, I mean, this is quite a place, isn't it? I didn't realize it was so far. I would have been here earlier. In any event, here we are in a place in time. Jessica talked about her birth and where and when that all happened. A place in time. Jamie Raskin, my friend, is always quoting Thomas Paine. And Thomas Paine said, "The times have found us." Times found our founders, as he was referencing them, to declare independence. Take that risk. Their lives, their sacred honor. Their lives, their livelihood, and their sacred honor. To establish a country based on democracy, something that was unheard of in the world where all monarchs. Based on democracy. And they wrote a constitution. Thank God they made it amendable and all that. So then, Lincoln, the times found him to save that democracy, to save the union, the sacred union that our democracy had as its goal. And now the times have found us. It is not an exaggeration to say that so much that our founders had in their vision and their values and what Lincoln fought for are at risk now under this administration. When some of us have met before, it was a challenge. It was a difference of opinion. But this is quite different. So we don't agonize, we organize. And that's what this is all about. We have no doubt that we will win the election, for the House of Representatives in the next election. No doubt. Let me tell you, though, why I'm especially happy and honored to be here with each of you. When we won in 2006, we won in 2005. We had our preparation ready a year in advance. When we won in 2018, we had our plan and our preparation in 2017. And we are going to win next year because we are going to be ready this year. In just a few months, maybe, July, by October, certainly November, but by October, we will, with all the help of so many people working, we'll have taken, numbers down. When his numbers come down, different people run. If you were a Republican, you were going to run, and the president was at 42%, then you might say, I'll wait until later if you have anything to lose. If you don't have anything to lose, we can beat you. And then on our side, we will be tracking the A team. Gen Z has a really important role. Voters for the future. The future, it belongs to you. It's where you will live. So whether we're talking about having a safe planet that will exist for everyone into the future, a strong democracy for what happens into the future, fairness in our economy, a lot of that is at risk in this next election. Just for a little history, we really are here to talk about progress, but just for a little history for a moment. When we won in 2006, it was the first time that we had won since 1992. Harry Reid and I were new leaders. This was our first election without a presidential, just congressional. And we said we made a decision to win, and therefore we're going to make every decision in favor of winning. At the time we made that statement, President George Bush, was a patriot in our country, and we respected him. It's a lot different than what's happening now. He was at 58% in the polls. By the time we talked to the public about his plan to privatize Social Security and all that, the calls, he was at 38% in September. And that's when we were attracting our A team. First time since 1992. In 17, we had a Republican president. But every time we won, we've had a Republican, won that back, we've had a Republican president. So in 17, the current occupant of the White House was in the White House, and we took his numbers down, and then we attracted the A team in the following year. But it's important to be strong in the year in advance, because that's when the troops line up. We have our messaging, we have our mobilization, we need the money to do it, but they are only legs to a stool to hold up the most important part, the candidate. Now, Trump's numbers are terrible now, but they're only the second worst of a modern president. The worst of a modern president was Donald Trump in his first term. So I want you to be as hopeful and as energetic and as engaged as Voters for the Future and Santiago and Eve and the other, Jessica and all the others have given you leadership and guidance on. Because being organized, we don't agonize, we organize. That's so important. And the beautiful diversity that I see here is such a source of strength. I say to the members all the time, our diversity is our strength. Our unity is our power. And this is about power. So know your power. Know the power of you. The next generation, the future, right before my very eyes. But you have to seize it and you have to shape it, and we'll learn from you as to the issues that are important to you in the future that you will be enjoying. I know for many of you that we've been communicating with, that listening to you, that saving the planet is important. That has no place in the agenda of the current president. In fact, the reverse is true. And I know that you care about individual rights and respect for the dignity and worth of every person, whoever that person may be. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here today. I was a little thrown off by the name of the place. Was it Throw Axe? I thought it was Throw Ass, but I don't know. I got it all wrong. But it really, this time that we're here right now, last week on the 17th, Christine keeps reminding me, on the 17th of July, we observed the 5-year anniversary of John Lewis's passing. He was such a hero, and still is, but was such a hero on the day-to-day basis in the Congress. He started his political work when he was in high school, so you're never too young to get started on all of this. He also said that democracy is not a static thing, it is an action. And that's what we have to do, is to act upon our beliefs and all of this. And your beliefs may be so entrepreneurial and fresh in their thinking that it will take a different shape, and that will be a beautiful thing for our country. It was, again, the times found him. Times found Don Lewis. But this week, we are also observing the 60th anniversary of Medicaid and Medicare. This is really important to our country. Christine and I both, at launching 9 o'clock a couple of nights ago, she during the night, but everyone playing a role to have a vigil about that, because that is so important to the health, not only the physical health, but the financial health of America's working families. And this is shameful what they are doing, shameful of what they're doing. And I just say this, and it sounds disrespectful, but I feel disrespected by what some of the things they're doing for the American people. I say you listen to them speak, and it's like they pray in church on Sunday, and they talk about praying in church on Sunday, and then they prey on people the rest of the week, taking away health care, taking away food for our children, taking away money for education, and saying they have to save that money so they can give tax breaks to the richest people in America. They did that in 17. They had a bill that added $2 trillion to the national debt so they could give tax breaks to the wealthiest people at the expense of working families in our country. And they did it again worse. Now it's going to add up almost $4 trillion. I didn't say billion or million. I said $1 trillion to the national debt for you to pay for unless we put a stop to it. And that's what we have to do. That's why we have to win the election. This isn't about politics. It's about values. It's about ethics, ethical well-being. And so we have this 60th anniversary. It'll go until Saturday morning. And this, to me, is part of that celebration, how you will mobilize for the future, how you'll mobilize for the future. It is a glorious time. It is an opportunity for Gen Z to make its mark, for voters for the future. We learned from you. And I'm telling you history of what we did, just to emphasize to you the importance of this year, these next 2 months. These next 2 months to make the calls, to walk the precincts and the rest of that. We have some elections in Virginia and New Jersey that are imminent, but we have to get ready again for next year because these elections are behind us. So again, it's not always about elections. For example, this is, and I'll close with this. Did I say that already? Nothing. You know, we're having this big budget debate, and the press is always saying to me, what's it about the budget that's so important? The budget should be a statement of our national values, what we care about, what we believe in, what are our values as a country should be reflected in how we allocate our resources. Not so with this gang. What they're doing is just disgraceful, shameful, shameful. For example, nothing brings more money to the national treasury. Nothing brings more money to the national treasury than investments in education. Nothing. We have early childhood, K through 12, higher education, post-grad, if you go there, and lifetime learning for our workers. Not any of their tax cuts, which they say are going to bring. That's just not true. But it is true that education is about upward mobility, for young people to reach their aspirations, for our country to be competitive. And those are beautiful thoughts, but from the standpoint of dollars and cents, nothing brings more. And what are they doing? Eliminating the Department of Education and the Civil Rights Division and all of that. What are they doing? Depriving communities of funds. And you know who they're depriving? The poorest children, the economically disadvantaged children. Title I, boom. Places like that. That's just brutal. And people have to know, maybe they're not affected by Title I, but our society is, and our children are, and we want them all to have the brightest future that is possible and not have the funding for education cut because the richest person in America is getting a tax cut. Cancel the cuts. Cancel the cuts. I'm with you all the way. That's what we have to do. That's their goal. Just one last thing. Just because you're taking a big bite of the apple about how you go forward in our country. When I was your age, and that was a while ago, there was capitalism that was called stakeholder capitalism. So if somebody was the CEO of the company, he probably made about 30 times what the workers made. 30 times. And they made decisions based on their shareholders, that was their obligation, but also their employees, their customers, the community they lived in. So about 30 times. Stakeholder capitalism. Now we've moved to shareholder capitalism, where the CEO of the company is making like 300 or 400 times what their workers are making. It would take some of our workers a lifetime to make what the CEO makes in 1 year. So we have important work to do about fairness and all the rest of that. How could that be okay? And even CEOs have complained about that and said that's not what capitalism is supposed to be about. 300, 400 times? And it would take, well, again, a person's whole future. But if you go back, it would take from like well before the revolution for them to have to work all that time to make what the boss makes. So this is unfair, it's unjust, it's undemocratic, it's wrong, it's shameful, and it must be changed. And we are going to, that's our fight, to cancel the cuts, but with a reason, and also listening to how you see what the priorities should be for the future. I'll just again close by saying, and I mean it this time, I'm from Baltimore. When we're coming here, I felt as though I was going back home to Baltimore. Any Marylanders here? Any Californians here? So the national anthem was written in Baltimore, and I'm very proud of that. And one of my favorite lines in it is, proof with the P, proof through the night that our flag was still there. That's what's in there. We have all the rockets right there. Proof through the night that I was there. And that's when I start cheering, because that's our responsibility, to prove through the night of this wretched administration that our flag is still there in the manner that we pledge every day, with liberty and justice for all. You have an enormous responsibility. How the future looks is in your hands. And again, every step you take, every call you make, and all of the things that are about outside mobilization. And nobody is more of a master than that, than Santiago. Where'd he go? Than Santiago. He is a tremendous leader in all of this. I'm so proud of what he has accomplished and how he thinks in an entrepreneurial way to take this into the future with fresh thinking coming from all of you, with a goal in sight that if you have that decision that I talked about earlier, with a goal in sight, I know that we will succeed, and Hakeem Jeffries will be the Speaker of the House in just a year and a half. Thank you all so much. Thank you all.
So let's give it up again. Thank you so much, Nancy. Okay, y'all, and now we're gonna have a brief word from one of our sponsors. You'll see around the building, there's a lot of people, a lot of organizations on the Step and Repeat and other places that we couldn't do this without. So, to help give us some extra regards, one of our sponsors, Aaron Boss-Lunn.
Hello, good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you all. My name is Aaron Boss-Lunn. I'm the Executive Director of Men for Choice, where we get passively pro-choice men off the sidelines and into the fight as allies for reproductive freedom. But I heard Jess earlier when she was introducing Speaker Pelosi. By the way, Speaker Pelosi, I mean, she's something. She says